podcast that you're about to listen to may cause some listeners to ask themselves, what the hell is going on?
Hey there, happy innovators. How are you all doing today? I hope that you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good. Got a cup of coffee here. Take a sip of it. I suggest if you have a cup, you take a sip yourself. Cheers. Anyway, I'm not sure how many of you that are listening know or do not know that I have recently released a new album for pipe choir called The Bright Side of the Moon. I hope that for those of you who have heard it, I hope that you're enjoying it. And for those of you who haven't heard it, do me a solid and check it out. Maybe tell me what you think of it. Anyway. Okay. There is a lot of crazy stuff going on right now in America. And I know that everybody who's listening to this right now knows exactly what I'm talking about, because there really is no way to avoid hearing about it or seeing it or whatever. You know, we have to try to remain objective. So I'm not going to bother going into too much detail about that. But what I will say right here, right now, to all my happy innovators that are listening to this podcast right now, thank you for that. And remember that we all, you, me, I, us, we have to try the best we can to remain objective in our opinions and with what we're seeing and what we're hearing. And we have to try to remain optimistic. Okay, so the other day, I was watching videos on YouTube and I saw that there was a press conference with Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary or the White House spokesperson. And oh my gosh, that woman, Karine Jean-Pierre, is so pretty. You know, she is so beautiful. Her face, her eyes, everything, you know, she just is. But honestly, I don't really like her very much. Okay? And partially because I associate her with a lot of the shenanigans that I think have been going on over the past 4 years. And so a lot of the time I won't even really listen to too much of what she has to say, okay? But the other day I was watching this press conference with her talking, and it was really interesting because, you know, it was in lieu of all the stuff that's going on with Trump and Biden and all the things that we're going to get into later on in this podcast. But the point I'm trying to make here is that just sitting there and listening to her talk for a little while, you know, I'm listening. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, one of the reporters that was in the press conference with her asked her, just out of the blue, how she was doing, you know, a personal question, like, how are you doing, Corinne? And she was kind of like knocked back on her heels a little bit. And she said something to the effect of like, you actually care about how I feel? You know? I thought about that, okay? This scene playing out in front of me on the screen was kind of like a revelation. As small as it was and as insignificant as it seemed to me, it was much more, because I had to think about it for a minute, you know? Like, she was actually stunned or surprised or shocked that one of the reporters that is there asking her questions would ask her a personal question about her and how she is doing, something very basic, very basic manners, basic cordiality, and she was shocked by that. Okay? And that bothered me because I had already made my judgments about this woman, after years of seeing her on television. And as open-minded as I try to be, and as, cool with people as I try to be, or I attempt to be, I had made judgments about her. And it occurred to me in that moment when that reporter asked her that question that she's a human being. Yeah, politically we may not agree and all that. We have nothing in common, Our ideologies are completely the opposite, most likely. Okay? And of course, there's no way for me to know because I'll never meet her personally or anything like that. But it just got me to thinking about that whole idea of just being cordial with people, not letting politics and all that kind of stuff, these externals, get in the way of actually treating people with dignity and respect. I'm guilty of it too. I guess that's what my point is here. Just using this circumstance as an example, I have to call myself into question. Why do I have such strong feelings of dislike for Corinne Jean-Pierre? She has a different opinion than I do. She has a different point of view, but it doesn't change the fact that we're both people and that we have feelings and that we have good days and bad days and all that kind of stuff. And that may seem like not a very big deal to a lot of the people that are listening to this podcast right now, but if that's how you feel, that's too bad, because you're wrong, okay? This is important. These types of things, the sentiment we have between ourselves and the people that are outside of us. And, I am not perfect, that is for sure, but I try to be as good as I can, probably like most of the people that are listening to this podcast right now. And we don't wake up in the morning and think about how awful of a person we could be today. We all wake up and we want to be decent people. We want to do the right thing for the most part, right? And it really kind of got me to thinking, especially in lieu of all this political bullshit that's going on right now. And oh my gosh, is it completely crazy, But I wanted to talk about that experience first. This idea that we should enter into this political season that we're going into right now, especially after everything that's happened with Donald Trump and Joe Biden in the past few weeks. We should go into this political season with a little bit more of an open mind and a little bit more compassion for the people that we disagree with, and humanize them, put them in to a place in our hearts and our minds where they're people too, just like us. That's really, at the end of the day, I think, what matters more than anything else I'm going to talk about today. And that's why I wanted to start the podcast with it today, because we're going to go into some pretty weird territory, and let's try to keep our hearts and our minds open and give each other the benefit of the doubt today. Okay, so I suppose at this point in this podcast, it would probably be fair to give everybody who's listening a trigger warning, because I'm going to say some things that a lot of people may disagree with or have a problem with or whatever. And if you're one of those people, that's okay. I don't mind. You can tune out right now. But if you're not like that, if you're just a person who wants to listen and you have an open mind about things and you just want to hear me out, then obviously you're welcome to stay. Okay? Okay, so we're going to rewind a little bit back in time here and go back to the event that everybody refers to as January 6th, or the insurrection on the Capitol building. Okay, I've talked about it before in my podcasts, but we're going to start there today. I'm going to talk to you about that because I am of the belief, okay, that January 6th, the insurrection, was almost entirely bullshit. Okay, it was completely fake. That's what I believe. Okay, I believe that it was fake, and it was a staged event. It was political disinformation, and it was an attack, okay? A political attack on Trump and the MAGA movement. That's my belief, okay? And you can disagree with me if you want. That's okay. I don't mind. And I will say also, too, that while I believe that may be the case, that it was a fake event, I also can concede at the same time that I might be wrong, okay? I'm not saying I'm 100% right or that I know for sure that it was fake, but what I can tell you is this, okay? About 20 years ago, I lived in Washington, D.C. for about a year. I've talked about this before, and, you know, my wife and I lived there, and we just wanted to experience the nation's capital, the whole area, everything it had to offer. Like, we wanted to soak all that up for like a year and go to every building, you know, every monument that's there, and just see everything there was to be seen in Washington, D.C. And that may sound like a strange thing to a lot of people. It sounds kind of strange to me too a little bit sometimes. Like, I almost can't believe that we did that. But at the time, it was really exciting and really fun. But now, all these years later, it's like it blows my mind, because there are so many things that I experienced while I was there that at the time seemed very interesting and unusual or whatever. But now, when I think about all the stuff that's going on right now and how I can relate to what's happening right now in our country, it makes complete sense to me. It was almost like it was divine providence that I was there to experience what I experienced, to see what I saw, and to hear what I heard while I lived there, because of right now, like all those years ago. And that sounds crazy, but that's how my brain works. Like, I will be drawn to something, I'll do something, and I won't quite understand why I'm doing it or whatever, but I'll just let it take me where it takes me, you know, and I'll figure it out later. So this is one of those things where when I see this quote unquote insurrection on the Capitol building, okay, what I can tell you is this. If you see somebody going into the Capitol building uninvited, or, you know, they're not allowed to be there, then you know, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, then I know that somebody let them in. Because when I was in Washington, D.C., and I was going to like the Smithsonian Institute, the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, all those places, okay, that are there, you can't just go walking into places, and you can't just storm a building and get in. It doesn't work that way in Washington, D.C. It's not a normal place like the towns that we live in, you know, outside of that area. It's not the same, okay? You can't just go walking in or storming the Capitol building. You'll get killed, okay? They'll shoot you. It's an act of war. It's something you can't just do. Like, for instance, if somebody walked from the sidewalk on Constitution Avenue and walked into the Roosevelt Room in the White House, You can't do that. It's impossible. You'd be dead. There's about 12 layers of guards that would stop you from getting in. You can't do it. If somebody gets into the Roosevelt room from the sidewalk, somebody let them in. Okay? That's the only way you're going to get there. That's my opinion. Okay? But I'm basing it on my experience, like when I lived there. Okay? You're not getting there. Okay? So when they go, oh, a bunch of people stormed the Capitol building and they got in, I call bullshit. Okay? You can't get there, bro. You can't. Okay? They'll leave you where they find you. They'll shoot you. They'll handcuff you or whatever they're gonna do. They'll shoot you. They'll arrest you or whatever. You're not getting there. Okay? It's not possible. So I think that was a bunch of bullshit. The January 6th insurrection, in my opinion, is a crock of shit. Okay? It's impossible for that to happen. You can't get in. And I don't care how big the crowd of people is. I don't care what kind of weapons they have or whatever they're going to do or whatever. It's an act of war. They have armed, like, Marines there. And they're not just, like, dressed Marines, like, there for show. They're there to protect that building. And you can't get in. Okay? So, having said that, okay, that January 6th, in my opinion, is fake. It was a staged event. If I want to remain objective, like I stated at the beginning of this podcast, when it comes to the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, if I want to remain objective, I have to concede to the idea that may have been faked as well. Okay? Now, I don't think that it was faked, but I don't know for sure. And I'm not convinced 100% that it wasn't. So I can't say with any authority or anything that event was fake or real. I do believe it was real. I do believe there was an attempt on Donald Trump's life. I think it's, at this point, obvious, how much he's hated and the levels at which he's hated and the money behind the people that hate him so much. Anything is possible. Okay? And, I don't think that anybody was surprised that something like that would happen. We may have been shocked that happened. And I think that, in hindsight, it kind of really overnight took a situation that was very volatile and hostile and overnight turned it into something completely different. So, fake, real, whatever, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump ultimately, I think, stopped everybody in their tracks and made everybody reassess what the hell is going on here. Okay? So that is probably the only good thing that came out of that. Because people lost their lives, people died, and, of course, all that stuff can be faked. Of course. It could be staged. How do we know? We're not there. I wasn't there. Were you there in person? Did you see everything happen in person? Were you there? No, you saw something on film. You saw something that was videotaped, or whatever, on a cell phone or whatever. And hey, anything is possible in this day and age. I mean, we can't deny that anymore. Anything that we're watching on YouTube, social media, even television that's being purported as real, we have no way to verify that it is actually real. We can believe that it's real, but we have no way of really knowing whether it is or not. Okay, so I'm not saying that I think that the assassination attempt was fake. What I am saying is we have no real way as outsiders from that experience, that situation. We have no way of really knowing what was real and what was not. Okay? But I'll say it again. I do believe that was actually an attempt on Donald Trump's life. But here's the problem. Okay. Now, unfortunately, in my opinion, okay, if there was a situation where there's a Secret Service protected event, okay, the Secret Service is in charge of protection for an event, regardless of where it is, who it is, or whatever, okay? If somebody got into that event and actually got a shot off at the primary, which was in this case Donald Trump. Okay, now this is just my opinion. Okay, in my opinion, I don't believe that the Secret Service makes mistakes. Okay, and I've got good reason to think that way, because they don't make mistakes. Those people that work in the Secret Service, people who are working at that level of protection in our country, for our government, for our leaders, they're not people like you and I, okay? They're like cut from a different cloth. They're different kinds of people. They're the best of the best. The reason that they're there is because they don't make mistakes, okay? That's how they get the job, you know? They're, as far as I know, they're all like former military, you know, high ranking, or, you know, they were accomplished military personnel who timed out on their service, their tours of duty, and they became a Secret Service agent. You know, the best of the best, the cream of the crop. And the Secret Service is a military operation. Okay, they're not wearing fatigues and, you know, jungle boots, but they are all part of a military operation to protect very important people, okay? And people who may be at risk of getting hurt by strangers out there in the world, crazies that are out there in the public sphere that want to attack them. So let me tell you a story. A long time ago, when Bill Clinton was president, Bill Clinton was coming to my small little town, a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. He was coming to this small little town I lived in to visit one of the residents there that was a really big donor to his campaign. Okay, so my sister and I decided we were going to go and try to see like the motorcade, you know. So you know, all these people are lined up along the street, and there was a bridge that like went over the valley that was next to the town I lived in, and you know, Bill Clinton's motorcade is coming down the road, and oh, everybody's excited and everything. And it was so weird because there seemed to be no Secret Service presence anywhere near us. It was just a crowd of people, you know, standing on the side of the road, you know, a bunch of normies just sitting there waiting for the president's car and the police escort to drive past us, and we would wave our flags and yay, you know. It was actually pretty damn cool, to be honest with you. But what was weird was that there was this dude that was, you know, maybe like 30 feet away from me. He like walked up to the curb, and I'm not quite sure, but I think that he was like a person who was put there as a test to the Secret Service personnel that were around us that we were unaware of, like to see if they would spot him and deal with him, because I don't think he was really a threat. He looked so obvious that it was like, you know, this guy's trying to get busted, you know, and he did. And it was interesting because we got to watch the process of the Secret Service force descending on somebody and watching that mechanism work. And it was unbelievable, okay? There were cameras coming out of windows in the normal houses that were on that street like the Secret Service had commandeered people who lived along that route, like to go into their house and observe from inside the house, like out a window, like all around us, you know? There were people up in trees with cameras and guns. It was like crazy just for this little drive-by that Bill Clinton was going to do in my town. And it was like, you know, not a major city, not a huge population area, just a normal small town USA. And their force was everywhere. They covered everything. It was unbelievable to stand there and watch it, you know, watch this guy be dealt with, you know? And like I said, I think he was like part of like their training, or like there to test them to see if they, you know, who responded and what they should do. It was like an exercise attached to this event. And it was fascinating. Okay. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you get the chance to, you know, not only see the Secret Service on television, which is one thing, but when you see them actually mobilized, like in front of you, and they're a force that is in front of you contending with somebody, and you see the layers of protection and redundancy that they lay out, it is unbelievable. This apparatus called the Secret Service, it is unbelievable. Okay. And these people in the Secret Service, you know, they don't make mistakes. Okay. They're there because there is no room for error with what they're doing. And maybe I have like an overinflated expectation of the Secret Service, but I don't think so. Okay. I think that they are the top line of people. They are at the absolute pinnacle of security and protection. These are not people who make errors on the job. They don't do it. Okay? They carry out orders. It is a military operation, and they don't make any mistakes. So my point is, after all this, is that when I see a gunman not only get, you know, within 5 miles of an event like a Trump rally with a rifle, okay, and, you know, make it onto the rooftop of something and actually take a shot at the primary, like the person who's supposed to be protected. They actually did that? That actually happened? I don't know. My impression is that there's something really wrong there. And it wasn't like, oops, we had a bad day today. I don't think so. I see it as the potential of a stand down on some level. Like the only way you're getting in is if someone lets you in. And just like I was saying with the White House or the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., you can't just go in, okay? You might think you can, you can't, okay? You're not getting in. You're going to be stopped, and you might get killed, you know, if you give them the wrong impression, you know? You have to be careful, right? You're not getting in. So, I don't know. I hear that this happened at this Trump rally, and think about this. Donald Trump has been having rallies like this, just like this one where someone took a shot at him, right? He's had events like this for 10 years. A solid decade. Think about this. Now think about it. Really. It's amazing to consider a political candidate who's had rallies that are massive, like stadium-sized rallies or arena-sized rallies for 10 years. A solid decade, year after year, of these rallies that are humongous. Isn't that amazing? Has there ever been a politician like that before? Ever? In history, ever? I don't think so. I didn't even realize it had been that long until somebody else had mentioned it somewhere in the midst of all this stuff on YouTube and all the conspiracy theories or whatever. It's like 10 solid years of stadium-sized rallies. People loved this guy. They come to these rallies for 10 years. Think about that. And you're trying to tell me that some knucklehead 20-year-old kid just kind of strolled in there with a gun? Like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, there is no way that kid would get anywhere near that event. No way. No way. Not with the Secret Service that I remember seeing with my own eyes. I mean, it was like, come on. You've got to be kidding me. You know? You guys are all familiar with Air Force One, the president's plane. You know? You want to know why you never hear about Air Force One crashing? Because it can't crash. Okay? It's not like an airplane like the ones we fly on. You know, they have so much redundancy and protection and all kinds of stuff around this airplane. It can't crash. You get it? Like, they can refuel in midair. They have, 4 different engines for that plane in a hangar somewhere being protected by military personnel. It is a matter of redundancy and preparation that we as normies cannot think about or even relate to. Okay? And it's like, you're not going to hear about Air Force One crashing. You're not going to have anybody entering the Capitol building. And you're certainly not going to be able to go to a Secret Service protected event with a firearm and get a shot off at anybody that's there. Okay? It's not going to happen. So, in my opinion, it's not a matter of like, how many shooters were there? Was he the lone gunman? How many shots were fired? I don't care about the minutia and all the bullshit and the conspiracy theories and the this, that, and the other. Yeah, it's interesting, it's entertaining, but the way I see it is like this. The bottom line, did somebody get into the event and take a shot at the primary? Yes. If the answer is yes, then I believe that it was a stand down from the Secret Service. On some level, somebody let that kid in to do that, because there is no way that you can walk into an event like that with a firearm and pull something like that off. It is not possible. Okay? It's impossible. You can't sneak it. You can't fake it. You can't fool these guys. It's impossible. So if it happened at all, somebody let that guy in. That's my opinion. And if that is the case, if there was some kind of conspiracy against Donald Trump to take him out so he cannot be the president of the United States, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about treason? Are we talking about high treason? Is that even possible? I can't even believe that it's in the conversation, but we have to ask the question. And it's not like a Democrat-Republican thing. It's like, this is our country, not mine. It's not yours. It's ours. Joe Biden is our president. Donald Trump will probably be our president again. It's not about who wins and loses. This is really, really a major thing. And they had that Kim Cheadle, the head of the Secret Service, being questioned and getting grilled. She eventually had to step down, resign her position. And people are like cheering that she went down in flames, and it's like, that's not something to cheer about, you idiots. That's like a complete tragedy for our country, that somebody who had a position that was that important, okay, had worked all her life to get there, had to leave in disgrace. That's not something to cheer about. Oh my gosh, have some empathy for her at least. I mean, at this point, we don't know what she's guilty of or not guilty of. We don't know if she was complicit or not or whatever. We don't know. All we do know is that, Donald Trump almost died, and her life, her career is in the toilet. It is over for her. I can't even imagine what it's like for her on the street when she's walking around. The kinds of things that people say and do to her. I can't. It's unbelievable. It's nothing to celebrate. It's an American tragedy. That woman is a cautionary tale now. How awful. How awful. You know, there's a saying that the fall of the best is the worst. Okay? The fall of the best is the worst. And if you ask me, that Kim Cheadle, the former director of the Secret Service, whatever her title was, oh, America, what the hell is going on? Then you have Joe Biden. Oh, brother. You know, that whole fiasco. I can't believe how absolutely off the chain this season of politics is in America right now. I just can't. You have Joe Biden stepping out of the presidential race for the 2024 election, and people are like, you know, where's Joe Biden? He disappeared. Is he still alive? Where is he? You know, it's like nobody knows. All of a sudden there's like a tweet or something that pops up, and it's like from Joe Biden saying, I'm now going to step out of the presidential race and hand the reins over to Kamala Harris, you know, like a tweet or like an email or something stupid like that. Get the fuck out of here, you know? I want to see my president on TV telling me that he's stepping out. So they finally did it, thank God. But it was like for 7 days or something? It was like, where is Joe Biden? Nobody knows. But all we did know is, like, you know, George Clooney's chiming in, and, you know, all these celebrities, Barack Obama is chiming in, like, it's time for Biden to step down, you know? I don't know. Absolutely off the chain. I can't believe it, really, because, you know, I think I used to be a Democrat, you know? Like, I was a kid with a ponytail and a dream, you know? My Birkenstock sandals and, you know, going to Earth Day, you know, every year. The Earth Day parade, you know? And somehow, over the course of the past 20, 30 years, it's just, the whole thing flipped. And the party of the working man was no longer Democrat. It was Republican. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And it's sad because I think that bullet that was meant to take out Donald Trump actually killed the Democratic Party. And I'm angry about that, you know, because that used to be my party, you know? And I knew it was all downhill as soon as they kind of like ran RFK, you know, Robert Kennedy Jr., out of the Democratic Party. I mean, can you imagine, you know, American royalty, the Kennedys, Democrats, forever, probably the most famous Democrats that ever lived, you know, and were assassinated. You know, they died for their country, and they deny RFK a part in their party, the Democratic Party. They kind of ran him out on a rail, and they denied him Secret Service protection on top of it. Like, what the hell is going on? You know? Well, he's got Secret Service protection now, thank God. You know, but how dare they treat a Kennedy like that? I mean, that's how I feel. You know? Oh my gosh, it makes me like, I don't know. This party that was once for the working man, this party that I used to love, they just played this whole thing wrong. You know, they just did. I can't believe I'm even saying that. But it's true. It's a disaster now. It's a catastrophe. And yeah, they can try to prop up Kamala Harris like she's really great or something, but come on. You're kidding yourself. Everybody knows. Come on. It sucks. They totally played it wrong. I don't know. I don't know. Joe Biden stepping down like he has, and, you know, being in cognitive decline for like the past 4 years, man. You know, it's not like a recent thing that we just discovered. Like, everybody knew. It was blatantly obvious. He could barely walk up steps without falling down, and he had that one famous quote where he's like, America can be described with one word. You know? Like, what? Did you guys ever see that? I can't. I laugh so hard when I see it. It's perfect. It's so funny. You know, you couldn't make it up. Oh my gosh! Like it's a shock. You know, like after the debate, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Joe Biden is in cognitive decline. I can't believe it." Like, yeah, okay, yeah. It's like what people have been saying for, like, you know, 4 years. You know, come on. It's sad though. It's not funny. It's sad because, believe it or not, you know, Joe Biden is my president. I did not vote for him. I didn't like a single thing he did, but I respect the office, and he was still the president. And to see it go down like it did, we should be sad. We shouldn't be celebrating that. It's a tragedy. Okay? After 50 years of service to his country, one way or the other, whether you like him or not, for it to all end like this, some stupid kind of, it's a mess. It's a mess. You know, they killed the Democratic Party. At least that's what it seems like to me. And I'm not a Republican, okay? So I'm an independent. I truly have no party anymore. And that makes me sad. It makes me sad. It makes me kind of wonder sometimes the level of weirdness, you know, that maybe, like I was mentioning in that podcast I did, the last one I did, that maybe America has already been captured. You know, like things are so strange, so weird, so over the top, so unexplainable that if you put it in the context of like maybe America has already been captured by another country, we just don't know it yet. You know, I don't know. It sounds a little conspiratorial or paranoid or whatever, and I get that. It sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but I have to wonder sometimes because things are just so damn weird. You know, you have an event where there's an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate, and all those cameras are there. You know, like when you go to like an event, like a concert, any kind of thing where there's a lot of people gathered around, everybody has a cell phone, you know, a smartphone, and they're holding it up and filming it. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a hot dog eating contest or, you know, a Rolling Stones concert or a Trump rally. Everybody's got their camera up and they're filming it, right? Well, there's an assassination attempt, and where's all that camera footage from, like, you know, the thousands of people that are there? Like, why don't we have access to that camera footage? Why? Why can't we see from every angle possible what was happening that day? Because there's a camera everywhere. You know, think about that. Why do we see no footage of anything, you know, we see the same footage over and over again from the same camera angle. But everybody there has a camera. So where is all that footage? Where are all those videos that people were filming? Where is it? Why don't we get to see it? I don't know. Where are all the cameras? Joe Biden is stepping down. You know, he's stepping out of the race. It's sad. It's not good. It's sad that had to happen. Is America already captured, or have we already been conquered by another nation? What are we talking about here? What's going on? Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. You know, it's bad for all of us. All this stuff is bad for all of us. If you don't see how bad this time we're in right now is bad for all of us, I can't help you. I can't help you. The only good thing about it, okay, is that all of the attention that these events are getting and all the, attention it's getting from the people that are out there, the normies that are out there in the world that are watching what is happening, it makes it difficult for it to happen again. That's the only good thing about it. There are so many eyes and ears on these situations now. It's not like it was back in the days of JFK and MLK and RFK. It's not like that anymore. There are cameras everywhere. There are people everywhere. Any angle you can imagine. It makes it difficult for this kind of stuff to happen. And that's the only good news. And I guess that Donald Trump is alive. And how dare the people that are saying things like they wish that the gunman wouldn't have missed? Ugh. Losers. Listen to yourselves. You're out of your mind. Get a hold of yourself. I don't know. So at the end of all this, the bottom line, my happy innovators, is this, is that we all need to stick together, listen to each other, have empathy for each other, because all these things that are happening right now in our country, on the political stage, in America, and really all over the world, are a signal to all of us that we really need to rely on each other a little bit more and learn how to do that, because in the future, the very near future, we may have to rely on each other a lot more than we ever imagined we might have to. So, my happy innovators, with that, remember, if you want to keep what you've got to give it away. Take it easy, everybody. Okay, happy innovators, for those of you who are kind enough and generous enough with your time to stick around to the end of the podcast to hear some music, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a song from the aforementioned album, The Bright Side of the Moon, an album that I released probably about a week ago, and I'm going to play for you a song that just so happens to be my wife's favorite song on the album, a song called Trem Tram. And so here we go, without further ado, Trem Tram by Pipe Choir from the album The Bright Side of the Moon. Let's check it out. Happening to me, you, a fire, a burning fire. I want to say it, but I don't know how. I want to learn to me. Power. I feel your power. I want your word to be a mountain flame. I want the world to celebrate your name. Truth, you, inside me. Let it be. If to fall for love is the price